everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. We're super excited that you can join us today, and we have a full session in store with really great content. In this session, we will talk specifically around mobile customer service. When you think about it, it really comes down to a few key things when we talk about creating an exceptional customer service for your customers. It's all about giving someone the answer to help them solve their problem as quickly as you can. And what that means is that good customer service is really not enough in today's world, and it's all about speed, especially when you've got these little devices in your pockets, your mobile phone. So how quickly can you help your customers solve their problems? We're going to dive into ways and tools in which you can help your customers and give them the answers that they need as quickly as possible, especially on mobile, because we know that support doesn't stop, and it shouldn't stop even when you're not at your desk. Today, we've invited Hailo, a global cab hailing service, to talk to us about their mobile support. And we have the pleasure of having Alicia, the global operations manager, here with us today. Alicia, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
And Alicia is going to talk to us about how Hailo delivers mobile support, everything from submitting a ticket to searching the help center and starting a live chat so that customers can get help 24/7 within that Hailo app. And the company has been using Desk.com since it was founded, and local teams can now support passengers and drivers when they contact support. So again, Alicia, I'm so excited to have you. It's always great to talk to a customer and get that real life example of how you're using Desk.com.
Yeah, no, it's great. We've been with the company with Desk for so long. It's really good to speak to you guys.
Perfect. And everyone, I'm the host for today. My name is Kira Cho, and I'm part of the product marketing team. Before I begin, I have some logistical things that I'd like to go over. We'd love for you to interact with us. We know that this is a webinar and it feels like it might be a one-way conversation, but you can connect with us multiple ways via Twitter, and you can ask questions and let us know what your favorite tip is from today's webinar. The more interaction, the better. There's also a GoToWebinar chat bar at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen where you can ask us questions. We'll make sure we dedicate 10 minutes at the end of this webinar to answer any burning questions you have. Today's program will last for about 40 minutes total. And if you can't stay with us through the whole thing, that's okay, because this session will be recorded and we'll be sending you a copy after the webinar. Now, without further ado, let's talk to Alicia. So Alicia, give me a little introduction. I'd love to learn more about what you do at Hailo.
Cool. So, as you mentioned, I'm the global operations manager here. I've been working with Hailo for over 3.5 years now. It's been a pretty exciting time. When I first joined Hailo, we were 15 people working from an old Navy boat on the Thames in the center of London.
Wow.
Yeah, I was employee number 15. So I basically had nearly every role possible in Hailo. So recruiting drivers on the street, formulating our first digital marketing strategy. You know, in the early days, everybody worked on desk, answering questions from customers and drivers. But more recently, I've been focused on global expansion, so developing market entry strategies, building teams across Europe and Asia, and working on product localization. So just constantly balancing the need to standardize and move quickly and ensuring we allow our cities enough flexibility for success though. So it's an interesting balance.
Wow, talk about wearing many different hats at a small company that is fast growing. Tell me a little bit about Hailo. I know Hailo's doing some amazing things worldwide, and it's really set up to disrupt the transportation industry. So what exactly does the app do?
So Hailo is a smartphone app which puts people just 2 taps away from a licensed vehicle, and allows drivers to get more passengers when they want them. So we launched back in November 2011 in Hailo, and since then we've spread to the UK, to Liverpool, Leeds, Manchester, throughout the whole of Ireland, Madrid and Barcelona in Europe, and then Osaka and Singapore in Asia. We were founded actually by three taxi drivers and three internet entrepreneurs. So it's quite a good mix, a really good balance. And we've raised about, well, over 100 million from some of the best investors. So Union Square Ventures, Accel Partners, Wellington Partners, Atomico, and then also Sir Richard Branson. I don't know if people know him outside of the UK. And then yeah, it's been an incredible company to work for. We've grown so much. So just to give you an idea, since we have launched, we've carried over 20 million passengers and grown to annualized sales of well over 100 million. So it's been quite a roller coaster, but a really good one.
Yeah, I'm sure. Congrats to all the success. It's amazing to be working for a company at this time with that much funding and just never ending exciting task that is being put on your plate. So I'm sure you're having a ton of fun. So going to being the operations manager, it's obvious. I know you care a lot about your customers because Halo is being used by so many users. What exactly is your customer service philosophy, and why do you think you differentiate compared to your competitors in this space, say someone like an Uber?
Well, I can only really talk about sort of how Halo does this, but we're all about quality. The emphasis is on customer experience and satisfaction rather than the typical metrics you might have in a call center around volume and efficiency. We do care about that, but more in relation to planning for resources. But our focus is definitely on overall satisfaction. So initially, we used to use a third-party app called NiceReply to measure customer satisfaction, but now we actually use Desk's customer satisfaction rating feature, and it's been really useful because it allows us to look at the customer ratings, but not just at the agent's response. So very often, your agent can do an amazing job, but the customer's just not happy with the overall experience. And that like the satisfaction ratings allow us to deep dive into that. So not only do we look at, the support team look at this, but all of our product owners have access to Desk. They receive a report once a week. And we don't just include cold hard metrics, but we also look at the feedback and insight from the support team. And that ensures that the voice of our customers and our drivers is heard not just with the support team, but throughout the organization, with our marketeers, with our product, engineering, everywhere. So that's really important for us.
That's awesome. I love that story around not letting support be a siloed organization and that you are at the forefront. You're representing the voice of the customer and bringing all of that insights back. So it's great to hear that in addition to supporting customers and delivering that awesome experience, you also take some of that customer sentiment and insight back to your product team, back to your marketing team, so that you can continue to improve your services and products. Great.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and then another key to customer success is really more than being able to find that right technology that can help you manage these cases that are coming in. And your agents basically live and breathe your brand, so they're really a crucial component to your success. Can you talk a little bit about what are some of the most important qualities of hiring the right people for your support team?
Well, I think the most important thing that we look for is that whoever we hire genuinely loves helping people. Working in support is not an easy job. Staying motivated every day is tough sometimes, but it makes it a lot more enjoyable if you really get a kick out of improving the experience of Halo and offering, our customers and drivers that little bit of delight when you get a response from us, or just in general. So that's quite important, but also kind of in the wider context, it's also wanting to improve the city you live in. So, returning someone's laptop after they've lost it or making sure someone makes their flight on time, that's just making the cities that the person lives in better journey by journey. And that's really what Halo is all about. So that's kind of what we look for, someone that genuinely loves helping people.
Nice. And later we'll talk a little bit about labels and other productivity tools in Desk.com that allows you to flag those issues. But before I get into that, can you tell me a little bit about your support team, how big the size is, how many agents you have?
Well, technically, everybody in Halo is part of the support team. Everyone has access to Desk and logs in and reads the reports. All the general managers in the cities respond to Desk queries and things like that. But we probably have about 30 plus people working more time than not on Desk, is the way I would say it, because again, sort of what I touched on before, it's very important that our support team work across the company and work in cross-functional roles. So we try to make sure that everyone has a project where they're getting to meet the rest of the company and also getting to share their insights, which are so invaluable from working in support.
That's great. And how are you exactly using Desk? Let's talk a little bit about the nitty-gritties of it and your implementation and setup of your instance. So you're using Desk as your ticketing system. How do you turn those tickets into your app?
Okay, so one of the first things we did when we set up Desk is we added a Hailo API. So that means that each case that is reported through our app actually includes loads of really useful information that our support team can use to prioritize and respond to cases quicker. So I think probably a really good example of that is the lost property feature in the app. So if you're, rushing, you get out of your cab and you leave your umbrella, your bag, your laptop behind, you quickly go to your app and you're like, okay, how do I contact this person? How do I get in contact with this driver? So we actually put a button in the app. So if you click on the lost property icon, a case automatically is created in Desk, which includes a string, which allows us to automatically know it's a lost property case, and it'll get labeled, it'll get filtered through the business rules, and it'll get top priority so that our support team can get back to you straight away with that lost item. So that's a really useful way that we've used the Hailo Desk API. So that's one of the first things.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about labels, and I know labels are a great way for agents and managers to use it to manage their case queues and track issues based on the topics that are very similar. So, in your opinion, why do you think labels are so important? And maybe talk a little bit about how many labels you have and how exactly
Yeah.
you use them.
So labels are the sort of the core of support and Desk for us. So every single case that comes in has to have a label based on what the case is about. And this is really useful because we can use the business insights tools to then understand what is happening in each city very quickly. So how a new feature release went, if there's any trends in the feedback from our drivers or our customers, and then we can quickly react to this feedback. So a really basic thing is if we see an increase in a certain type of case, we can write up a FAQ in the help section so that customers can very easily find this information online and reduce the time they have to spend emailing us to get an answer. So that's one really simple way it helps just around knowing what type of cases are coming in. But also at a higher level, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but the report, the support report, tells us the trends that are happening throughout the organization every week. And that, helps the product with prioritization, it helps with our marketing campaigns. Again, it's a really useful way for the whole organization to understand our passengers and our drivers. But yeah, the one thing is getting the labels right is tough. So we initially started out where we labeled every single case with, customized labels, and it just really didn't work. So we've been quite strict on making sure that we try to keep the number of labels as low as possible so that there's meaningful data to gain from the information. So also what happens a bit is, you might have a label with sort of one meaning and then a label slightly similar with kind of the same meaning, and people used to get confused. So that's the one piece of advice I would say, is make sure the labels are relevant, but also as few of them as possible starting out.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I'm sure you're using labels to deflect cases because if it's a frequently asked question around a lost property or other topics, you probably have a business rule that will help with the routing process and speed up
Oh,
that case through the cycle. So,
yeah.
yeah, and speaking of case deflection, I think the help center really is a way for all of us to really allow our customers to help themselves look for answers, and really just a level set for those on the phone who are not familiar with the self-service experience. It's important because a help center houses all of your FAQ articles so that your customers can go there and look for answers on their own without ever having to contact your support. And maybe it goes without saying, but as customers, we don't always want to pick up the phone to talk to someone live, and we expect to find answers on our own on the web. So, Alicia, how are you applying the self-service concept to Halo support?
So I think probably the what you just said, people are kind of changing and they don't always want to pick up the phone. So the perfect time when you might want to actually find out something about Halo is you've ordered a cab, you're sitting in the back of the cab, and you want to just find out something from us. So you might have a question and you can just quickly in app. So we actually have the help center in app localized to each city that you're in. And then you can just go on to our app, find customized content based on your location and your customer type. And then it's a really smooth, seamless experience to get your question answered because you just search the help center on our app. So it's really useful for us. And it also, again, we're proactively reducing the number of cases coming in, but in a very seamless way for the customer and the drivers.
That's awesome. So you've got a lot of different knowledge that is powering your help center. I can see a lot of articles here in the screenshot. How are you using that knowledge to power your internal knowledge base so that your agents can get access to the types of information as well?
Well, actually, so we actually use the knowledge base as a really great onboarding tool when we have new support team members joining. So one of the first things a new employee does is read the knowledge base. They really quickly and easily pick up lots of useful information, but also they can give us really good feedback on improvements that can be made and, feedback on making sure it's relevant and, very often updating the knowledge is probably one of their first tasks.
Oh, that's a really interesting concept. I don't really hear a lot of that from customers. I always hear that they use the knowledge to onboard different agents and get them ramped up really quickly, but never a quiz around that. So that's something I should share best practice with the rest of our customers. That's a really interesting way of thinking about it because we know that these articles that are residing in the help center, it's a living and breathing document. Things change, and so it's good to keep it up to date.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that the great thing about the help center is we actually have a local help center for each city. And each city can go on themselves and edit the content. So even though it's a global platform, it's really flexible and really, catered towards that city, which is so important.
That's interesting. So how do you triage multiple types of customers or where they live in the city to help you route cases? So let's say someone in Ireland or someone chooses the London Help Center. Like, how does that differ in the routing rules?
Yeah, so basically with the API as well, we know if it's a driver or passenger and which city they're in. So with the basic business rules, we can then send it to the most appropriate team with the best knowledge. For example, if a business customer emails in it'll go directly to our business support team in London, and they will be the subject matter experts. So it just makes it a lot quicker, and also that the customers and drivers are getting the best possible person to speak with them and the best possible information back.
Well, actually, prior to this webinar, we were talking a little bit about allocating resources based on the case volume that's coming in. Let's say London is really light on cases, but Ireland is just bombarded and a lot of customers are reaching in. How do you use business insights and some of the reporting tools to help you allocate your agent's time?
Yeah, I think a really good example of this was probably Patrick's Day in Ireland. So it was really busy in Ireland, and we had loads of cases coming in from customers, and just because with the parade, the roads were blocked and things like that. So, in Ireland, sorry, in London though, things were kind of quiet, so it meant we could easily just add our London team to the Irish desk group, and then they could help with the Irish team. And that took what, like 4 minutes to just change over the agents to Ireland. So it was a really easy way to just deal with surges, because these things don't happen often. But it's nice to know that you have that flexibility kind of in your back pocket for when it does happen.
Yeah. And why do you think multilingual support is important in your case? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but then from a support perspective, how has that really helped you improve the experience of your customers?
Well, we operate in many cities that speak many different languages, and we need to make sure that we can support these languages in a really simple way. And I think multilingual and Desk allows our local cities to do this easily. So it means that the cities are in charge of the content, that they have that flexibility to go in and edit. So, for example, the macros or the FAQ and things like that, which means it makes it quicker for them as well. They don't have to go through a centralized team, in London or anything like that. So, multilingual gives our cities lots of flexibility.
Nice. Oh, you talked about macros. They're actually one of my favorite tools. So for those of you that are not familiar with a macro basically is a shortcut and it allows an agent to perform multiple actions with just a single click. So take for an example, if we have a macro, you can simultaneously pre-populate a pre-canned response, change the status of a case, and also append the label for follow-up, literally with just one click. That shortcut can do those following things. So, Alicia, do you have some favorite macros that you like to use, or do you use macros pretty often?
Well, yeah. The one thing we're very careful about is making sure that they're relevant and current, and that our team uses the macros, but then they also might add on extra each time they reply. But I suppose we use macros quite a lot in relation to common things like lost property,
Yeah.
and just maybe sending out emails and things like that.
So how do you, with so many people working for you and they live in different time zones in different countries, you talked a little bit about this, that you want your agents to stay true to the brand. How do you ensure that happens 100% of the time?
Well, our support team is the voice of our brand. They know so much about our passengers and drivers as they're constantly in communication with them. They're sort of at the coal face of the business. So that I hope it happens naturally, but there's definitely a couple of things though that I think can help. So what I talked about earlier about focusing on customer satisfaction rather than performance metrics, that's a really good place to start. But also
Actually, can we
ensuring the support
elaborate on
team.
the performance metrics? So things like average time to first response, number of cases handled by agents, like what are some of the traditional performance metrics you mean by this?
Well, the ones we probably would look at would be volume, so like seeing the number of cases coming in and then the number of cases resolved, um, versus also, I think, well, that's sort of mostly where we focus, because first time interaction for us, very often that's a good metric, but also if you have a really great response, often customers will email back just to say thank you, and therefore the stats on that can be a little bit skewed.
Yeah.
But I would say just making sure inbound volume versus resolved, it would be sort of the normal performance metrics, but we don't focus on that. We focus on customer satisfaction.
That's
Um,
nice.
but then also, I think the really useful thing is getting the support team out into the whole business and as much exposure as possible and working on different projects. That's really, really useful. It's so nice, just the atmosphere that it creates within the team as well.
So, Alicia, today you've given us a lot of wise words for the audience. to wrap everything up, what do you think is that one piece of advice you give to small support teams or support teams that are just starting out? Uh, some words of wisdom.
I don't know. Well, for me, labels, 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 they've been so useful for us in proactively managing support issues and also getting, if you can quantify the number of cases coming in and the type of issues that are coming in and share that data with the whole company, that's going to be really valuable for the company, but also for the teams, because often, when speaking around the place, someone will have a bright idea on how to like reduce the issues we're seeing or the problems. So that's something that has been really useful with labels. Um, so that's probably my big advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing all of this knowledge with us and sharing with us what your use case is within the Desk.com application. This was very valuable, and I just love hearing different stories because different businesses have different needs and people use Desk.com in many different ways. And I'm really happy to hear that you're succeeding with our app and really helping to run your support organization smoothly with our technology.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I promised everyone that I was going to open the floor up for some Q&A. Feel free to enter some of your questions that you may have that came up during the webinar in the panel on your right-hand side. We have a few. So what I like to do at this point is just read out some of them, and then Alicia, you can help us answer them. The first
Okay,
one, how do you
sounds good.
measure customer satisfaction?
Oh, so Desk actually now have that tool within their feature set. So I think if you look up probably customer satisfaction feature in the Desk help page, you'll see how to turn it on. And then that means that every single email going out has a little rating at the bottom. We use the smiley face one, which is quite nice, we think. And that means customers and drivers can very easily give feedback. It's just a click of the button.
Yeah, and to elaborate on that, Alicia's right. In the admin panel, you can go to cases, and then within there, you can find the customer satisfaction settings so that you can turn it on. But if you're having any issues or would like to turn it on but really can't figure it out, you can always email support@desk.com or also search our knowledge base and there are instructions on how to turn it on. But Alicia's right. There are two different ways for you to include the smiley faces. So the first one is the 2-point rating scale, and then we also have a 4-point rating scale for you to choose depending on what your needs are. And then in addition to that, we also allow you to include an open-ended question so that you can further get more feedback from your customers in addition to how happy they were with the experience with the grading scale. They can also leave comments for you. Great. Do you have a 1-800 number or a direct call-in number so that we can implement this? Oh, okay. So they're talking about Desk.com. Absolutely. If you want to start, just visit www.desk.com. We have a free trial that is ready for you to use. The duration of the trial is for 2 weeks. And if you want to speak to someone right away, you can email sales@desk.com and someone will get back to you as soon as possible. So can customers log into the help center to view their open cases? So I think they're talking about the private portal. Alicia, do you have a private portal?
No, we don't actually. So
No, that's okay. So yeah, part of the capabilities within the help center is allowing customers to log into a private portal so that they can fill out their credential and then log in to view cases that they've opened and also status of their cases. So that is doable. What is the biggest key learning from using Desk and the Desk products?
Um,
I mean,
I would say so. Initially, obviously, when we started using Desk 3.5 years ago, so there was quite a lot of things that we wanted, like the reporting and things like that. But to be honest, it's all there now, so it's really useful. But initially, I think before you internationalize, you need to think about how you're going to set up Desk and how you're going to lay it out. So we spent quite a while thinking about that before we went ahead and set it up, because you sort of need a roadmap to how you're technically going to set it up. So that was an interesting one working on that.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the infrastructure and how, as you grow and as you scale, how do you want the app to help your business and continue to grow support? We also have our WOW team, which is our account services team, that are so good at helping folks get up and running quickly, share best practices. So we also have live help that can help you with setting up your account in the beginning if you're running into some challenges. And how did you land on Desk actually?
So well, basically we had a choice of two options, and we just preferred the service and the support of Desk.
Good, good
That's
to hear.
pretty much how it worked.
Well,
Nothing very complicated. It was quite a quick decision, to be honest. It was like 2 weeks before launch or something like that. We're like, okay, we're going to need a support portal in the app. What do we do?
yeah, I completely agree. It's not like a lot of customers that are using Desk has an RFP team or an implementation team, or the requirements that they need are very simple. They need to get up and running. They need a help desk to help them route cases so that none of their customers are slipping through the cracks. And maybe you just need some help center portal capabilities. And so it comes back to speed and agility and really how quickly you can get up and running, and Desk can help you do that. So uh, that is very typical. And then I guess the last question, we have time for one last question. How or when did you know you needed a customer service app?
So we had it from the beginning. Um, it was sort of our, yeah, it was a decision that was made very early on, that before we launched, we had it ready and set up.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's your business model. It's a consumer app, and you know that once people start using the app and hailing cabs, that questions are bound to come in.
yeah, it was funny. The conversation's like, oh my God, how are people going to contact us? Oh my goodness, we need to set this up. So, yeah, but it
The
was
little
something.
things in running a successful business.
No, but this is very early, very, very early in the company. We hadn't launched or anything like that. So, yeah, but we just knew we needed it from the beginning, basically.
Great. Well, I think those are all the questions. Thank you everyone for being so engaged and active. We had a pretty really good Q&A. So if you have any follow-up questions or you didn't get a chance to ask us some of these questions, you can feel free to email support@desk.com, or you can also email me directly, kcho@salesforce.com, and I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much, Alicia, for your time today in hosting this webinar. I learn a ton, and I can
It
speak
was
on
great
behalf
fun.
of the attendees that I'm sure they learn a ton too. If folks want to learn more about Hailo, where should they go?
Just on our webpage, so haloapp.com, and they'll learn as much as they want. We've got quite an extensive FAQ as well, which I've touched on already.
Are you going to quiz me on it? Okay, well, thank you so much, Alicia, for your time again, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.